I have with me Solreta Antaria coming at you guys from Australia, and she's going to be giving us a lecture in food sciences, nutrition, and diet, and she's going to connect the dots as to what we've been talking about and how conscious food is going to really help us elevate our own vibrational distortion so that we can elevate ourselves and live a better life and have a better human experience. So, Solreta, I'll give it over to you. I'll mute myself, and in a few minutes, don't mind me when I add Aginas to our stream.
Okay, thanks, Omar. And thank you for asking me to do this presentation. And I've just been blown away by the caliber of speakers that you guys have had and the way that you've weaved everyone together, Omar. So I just wanted to say thank you. So I was blown away by the information that Michael just shared, because there is some crossover too. So I think that's why we're being paired next to each other. So I mainly work predominantly as a psychic. I have a background in health sciences, working as a kinesiologist. So I trained for that for many, many years and have done that for more than half my life now. So what I did to start the day and to get an overall picture of what Spirit would like to speak about and kind of what's going on for now and an energy for today for the conference. Now, when we were having tech issues, I did have the devil card fall out twice. So I think there was some tech interference happening. But yeah, that's all cleared away. But what we did have, the first card was Princess of Cups in reverse. So what this is speaking to me about is it's really on an emotional level, not letting the emotions get the better of us. So sometimes we can have blocked judgment. Sometimes we can, go into a reactory type phase. So with everything that we're seeing that's happening in the world, it's so easy to step into reaction mode. It's so easy to become weighed and bogged down by emotions. So that was only one card representing that kind of thing. And then we had the Love card come out, which is about making a choice. We have the Sun card come out, which for me is about transformation. This is a gateway. So we've entered a time, especially with what Stephen and Evan talk about. I've seen, I guess, the Visca Pisces since March last year. It's these interlocking circles. Michael was just talking about it. Also has the yoni in the middle. So I saw that as sort of standing on the brink from one side of things crossing over to the next. Now, the reason why we're picking cards and we're talking about this is because we need to be able to upgrade our systems. We need to be able to upgrade our energy bodies, our light bodies, our brains in order to take us to this new level of where we're heading as humanity. And then after the Sun card, we have the Hermit. So this is all about going within for the knowledge. This is really a lot of the knowledge that people are sharing today is knowledge that they've gone within to bring out, research that they've gone in to bring out. And this brings about a new opportunity, the Ace of Swords, which when I pulled this, I just hear this as a new age. We had that Saturn-Jupiter conjunction. These are the Thoth deck, by the way, for anyone liking these. Or Toth, as people say. So Michael was talking about the ibis. So we have this Ace of Swords, which it's about sort of like knowledge and communication, but we can see that there's the crown on top here. This is in alignment with source. It's in alignment with who we are as a soul. With this part coming back down, the clouds are parting. We're seeing that there's truth being exposed, and we're seeing that we're coming into full power, full alignment. We also had the Light card. I'll just run through these really quick. We had material and spiritual prosperity. We had victory and success, spiritual union. This is where we're heading back to. We're coming back to spiritual union. We're coming back to wishes fulfilled. Gratitude, inspiration. Now this inspiration card, these out of my deck, these are, hello. These ones are the Syrian star cards. So this is the Syrian gateway. These are my deck that I've actually made myself, and we have love. So, having that love, having that gratitude in our heart, having that positive mindset, not being weighed down by reaction to what's happening around us is really important for this particular time in history. And, how exciting that we get to be here for this particular point in time. So I'm going to get straight to my presentation and just share my screen as well. And just having a look for, is that coming up on your end, Omar?
I'm not seeing it yet.
Hold on a sec. Might be on this one. Oh, yeah, I found it. Sorry, I've only done Crowdcast a couple of times and a bit rusty in it.
Oh, so this is a tough.
Here we go. Yeah, it looks like it's sharing now. Is that coming through your end?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So yeah, this is the topic for today. So food sciences, building a psychic brain and beyond. So we mentioned at the start that that I work as a psychic. So for me, I've been ET experiencer and worked with clairvoyant psychic things since I was young. The earliest I can remember back to with my experiences is age 4. I don't really remember anything before 4. Some of my earliest memories are waking up to ETs in my room, having unusual experiences on board UFOs, interacting with many different types. I myself really, I guess, feel more ET than I do human. So for me, working in the psychic realm and things as a kid, it just felt normal. I didn't know any other way. So we'll head towards this, and hopefully this resonates for some people, or they pick up some pointers or some tips and tools that they can use. So we've got clairvoyant, tarot reader, international psychic. So most of my clients are actually in America and in Canada. Has been a job that's taken me to the States a couple of times. I've been lucky enough to travel to Italy for my work, especially with the UFO side of things and the psychic side. I've been on Mexican TV, Australian TV, Japanese TV, and had Japanese TV fly out here to film UFOs over my backyard. So yeah, call myself a biohacker researcher because I'm really interested in the brain, and we will get into the brain side of things today. Also kinesiologist and superfoodie. So I've just started with this quote from Rudolf Steiner. Now, this is one of my favorite books. When I read this book, it was the first time, probably around maybe 21, that I read something and I really went, wow, this person has seen into the unseen worlds. He's describing exactly what it's like to see with these spiritual eyes, not just psychic eyes, but to get into the eyes that our soul really sees with. So it says, there slumber in every human being faculties by means of which can acquire for himself a knowledge of higher worlds. Mystics, Gnostics, Theosophists all speak of the world of soul and spirit, which for them is just as real as the world we see with our physical eyes and touch with our physical hands. So that's from Rudolf Steiner, How to Know the Higher Worlds. So for me, when I perceive things with my physical eyes, I also see into other realms. And I'm going to use the word realm to really describe how it is that I see, because I will have almost like a soft veil sometimes, and I will see beings actually peer their head through the veil. So it's what was described in ancient times, perhaps like in Avalon, we talk about peering into the veils. And also in other times, like Egyptian times, they talk about, hidden knowledge behind the veil. So this is what I see with my physical eyes. Now, there is a more, another way to see too. So I see auras around people, guides, ascended masters, different beings, and various different multidimensional ETs. But another way to see is with your third eye, your pineal gland. So a lot of the time you can see things with your eyes closed. So sometimes there'll be a being in the room, someone's, looking at it, seeing it with their eyes, and I can see it with my eyes closed and then open my eyes and still see it. So this will also cross over into dream world too. So I've also put this quote here, and I've got my beautiful French-Canadian friend to actually to record this little saying, because it was originally from a French nutritionist. So the English translation is, tell me what you eat and I will tell you who you are, which later morphed into you are what you eat. So this is it in the original language. I'll just play it.
Dis-moi ce que tu manges, je te dirai ce que tu es.
So I wasn't going to attempt to butcher that in French. This is actually one of my recipes. So I'm yet to put out a recipe book because I'm still gathering a lot of my favorites to put together. But this one was a mango lime turmeric coconut smoothie bowl. So I do love to decorate them, and my kids love that as well. I should also mention I'm a mum of 3 kids. So my oldest daughter is 20, then I've got 14, and then my little one, who's a boy, is 12. So very, very different backgrounds. So one of the most important fundamental things in regards to building a psychic brain or building the light body that we need in order to take us through to this higher dimension. So at the moment, our physical biocomputer, our physical body or our hardware is what I call more sort of like carbon based, and where we're heading is more crystalline based. So a lot of you might be starting to experience things in dreamlike state and starting to experience different levels of information coming through or feeling guided. So we'll be getting into a little bit of this, but what I want to state is, so on a detox level, we really need to look at clearing yeast, mold, fungus, and candida out of the body. So this is like a candida overgrowth can happen on cells. It can happen on the skin. So this is where we see eczema, dermatitis, we see cancers, we see lymphatic congestion, all of these types of things. Another important thing to look into is heavy metal detox. So because of our current state of the world and different things that are being either injected into our bodies or sprayed into the atmosphere or sprayed into our food source or put into our water system, we're being bombarded with heavy metals. So some of these heavy metals are aluminium, mercury, strontium, and barium. So we really need to create a catalyst to remove and to pull these out. Now, for many years, I was using zeolites, and I was using that in the form of the water filter that I had, which I've had very expensive reverse osmosis water filters and then used the zeolites. And I've also had gravity-fed water filters over time. What I actually found was the TRS spray, which is a synthetic zeolite. Now, we usually think of synthetics being not as superior as the organic, but in this situation, this synthetic zeolite, the TRS, is actually magnetically charged to draw different heavy metal particles out of the body. So it acts like a magnet to clean up and detoxify. So when we have these heavy metals get into our system, whether it's through our skin, which is our first line of defense, whether it's into our blood, which is the third line of defense, tonsils being the second. When we have these heavy metals get in, it can take a couple of years for them to traverse and to get up into the brain, which is where they gravitate to. Now, what's dangerous about this is we have Alzheimer's, dementia, rates of autism, all of them going up since we've had this industrial revolution, and also this, injection age we'll just refer to it as that for now, but I'm sure many of you out there know what I'm talking about. So what we need to do to kind of reinforce and make sure that we have this amazing base to work with and things that aren't switching off our brains. Now, we all know that what we've been told throughout history in regards to truth is not exactly what we're seeing unfold now and the truths that are coming to light. So I also think that this is the case when they talk about that we only use 7 to 10% of our brain. I think that we're actually being dumbed down in being told this. And I think what I'm talking about today is really a way to try and get to that limitless pill. That Bradley Cooper movie where they have the pill and all of a sudden all the synaptic and neuro pathways open in the brain. So another thing that's really important in regards to ridding the body of toxins is lymphatic drainage massage. Now, you can also do this on yourself. There's various different vibration platforms and massages that you can use to help move things along the way. We also have parasite cleansers. Another thing I wanted to mention, especially with, how would we put this? mRNA experimental gene therapies and things that are happening at the moment, we'll just put it in that way. It's really important to look into different herbs that will protect your DNA and protect that RNA from being converted. So herbs from South America, such as pal de arco, protect that conversion and protect your DNA from being manipulated. Also kills yeast, mold, fungus, candida, in the body. So really important if you are doing a cleanse to start looking into herbs, because herbs go above and beyond what superfoods do. So we all know the importance of superfoods and, your goji berries and things like that. We've all heard about the cancer fighting properties and things with that. So infrared saunas are amazing because the rays from the infrared sauna, unlike some of the other detox methods like a traditional sauna, actually the infrared will penetrate 10 centimeters into the tissue. So even like infrared lamps that we see in facials and things, I'm also a beauty therapist who specializes in natural anti-aging and microneedling and a little bit of facial acupuncture and things. So we want to keep the outside looking as good as the inside. We don't want to have, a dirty pillowcase with a clean pillow in the inside. We want, to be beautiful on the inside just as much as the outside. So things like infrared saunas, infrared facial lamps, things like this. The color lamps are really amazing as long as you're getting the right spectrum. So bentonite clay, I think some people pronounce it betonite. Things like this actually bind to toxins and to parasites and things in the body and will literally pull them out. So we'll see animals in nature eating these kinds of clay, along with colonics are really good. Now, if someone is eating a healthy diet, they won't need as many colonics as someone who is perhaps eating an unhealthy diet. They say that I guess if we're looking at it from a plant-based point of view compared to a meat-based point of view, meat can actually rot in the intestines and be compacted feces sitting in the intestines for up to 10 years. So this is where, if you are looking into detox, it's really important to look into things like colonics to really give yourself that clean, fresh start. You find sometimes when you're doing detox, if you do hit fruits and things and you haven't done detoxification, or you haven't done the alkaline green drinks and things, such as one of my pictures that I've got here. So those were some green drinks that I made. Now, if you have a cold pressed juicer, you can cold press juice for up to 72 hours. So you can make up a big water cooler size of green juice and do that for days on end, because I find that really makes you commit to it if you make up 3 days in advance. So what we also find is when we really reduce the inflammation by bringing the green juices in, this also means that the detoxification, headaches and fatigue and things are less likely to happen. So we want to give ourselves a really gentle trajectory into this detoxification. Then later we can add things like fruits. So a lot of people, I feel, are getting misdiagnosed with fructose malabsorption and fructose malabsorption and other things, because I think what's happening is when they introduce fruit, which has high alpha hydroxy acids in a couple of cases, which we also use in facials to eat off dead skin cells and enzymes to help break down old sludge. So just as we would use that in a facial, when we consume that and it goes into our intestines, it stirs up this toxic sludge and we get an effect of those toxins all of a sudden being swept out of the sewer. So this is where we do find that we can get headaches, things like this. So then this is more on building the base. We want to refeed the body. So things like celiac disease, undiagnosed celiac disease, or even a lot of the traditional grains that we have now have a thing sprayed on them called glycophosphate. Now, what this glycophosphate is actually Roundup. It's weed killer, and it's legal for the farmers to be able to spray this onto their crops. It saves half a day in actually harvesting. It means that it's much easier to harvest. Now, this is slid through and passed as under the term desiccation, and this is how they're legally able to get away with it. Now, what this does in the intestines, we have these little microvilli, which are like little finger-like things that are on the intestines. What this glycophosphate and poison does in our system, and what happens in celiac, is it flattens these little finger-like projections. And so what this means is our body doesn't have these little fingers to grab the nutrition, to grab the vitamins, to grab the minerals when it comes into our digestive tract. So we're really, as a species across the planet, are very nutrient deficient compared to what our grandparents and ancestors would have been. So really important to eliminate anything that's, a toxin or a poison in the body, and to really start to regrow these little microvilli and to feed them again. So what you find when you get into a whole foods plant-based diet is that you might actually be really feeding yourself properly for the first time. And what I mean by that is on a micronutrient level. So when we're doing things like superfoods and sprouts, which we'll get into a little bit further, things like this are so nutrient dense, they're going to really feed us. So after time, when we're nutritionally topped up, we're not going to be as hungry. So I've written whole foods plant-based. We just went into gut health. So we talked a little bit about that. This is sometimes why we need to look into digestive enzymes if our system's been depleted and we haven't perhaps had the right kind of digestive enzymes being produced in our system, we may need to introduce something short term, not sort of taking away the job of the body, but we want to just help make things easier for a little bit. Also, probiotics are really important. Back in way back, I think it maybe about 16 years ago, I developed a probiotic. So there was a lot of research with probiotics. You can ring up a science lab and get them to give you a strand of probiotic. Now, you don't know if this has been genetically modified. So this is where I really recommend, and also a lot of probiotics are cultured from fecal matter. So they actually take fecal matter and will culture a probiotic strand, and that's what you're getting when you go to the pharmacy. So really important to get a whole foods-based probiotic. You want one that's shelf stable or one that is encapsulated to get into the intestine and survive the digestive tract. So really important. A lot of your green-based powders and whole food probiotic tend to have about 13 strands of probiotics in there, and the prebiotics as well. So this establishes a good microbiome. And I like to think of a microbiome being sort of like a healthy garden or a rainforest. You have like your nutrient dense sort of soil and things, and this encourages everything to grow for healthy bacteria. So we want to do this, and we want to build strong cells. So in the detoxification process, some people will have that die-off effect of detox. They'll also have the breaking down of the old cells where they go through a purging. So some people will find that they might have, things come out of the skin because the skin's related to kidneys. So there's a purging that's taking place. This is why it's really good to do the greens so that you're not going to get as many of these purging reactions. An alkaline diet is also a way to reduce the inflammation. So inflammation is the body's kind of little memo, a little signal going off to say, hey, there's something happening in the system. It's that little red light. Now we have to make sure that the inflammation isn't a toxin release effect, because sometimes we need to go through that uncomfortableness for a short period of time. But things that I mentioned at the start, like infrared detox sauna, also forgot to mention the importance of drinking water. So a lot of these are my original pictures. So here's another one that I made of a detox fruit water. It was a hibiscus tea. So we're also getting color therapy at the same time. So it was Edgar Casey that spoke about color therapy being medicine of the future. So we also have, I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see if I grab a book off the shelf, but I'm just going to mention the title. It's called Let There Be Light. Now, each color has a breakdown of a specific frequency which interacts and works within the human body, similar to what we would have with a Rife machine, which I actually had my Rife machine out earlier today. So a Rife machine, say, for example, you have a frequency of a migraine, or you have a frequency of cancer. This is going to have a particular hertz or vibration that goes with it. Now, with color and with sound, and with a Rife machine, any of those, you can put a frequency in that matches that illness, and that cancels that out. Like attracts like and cancels that vibration out. It's almost like the healing comes in and cancels that frequency out. So this is where we've got vibrational frequency healing, which Michael went into with the 432 hertz and different things like that, which can actually activate the pineal gland. Also, giving your digestion a break is really important. So even if you were to only do one thing to help sort of like give your body a break and to nutrient feed, and you wanted to do it sort of in the easiest way possible, you could add a green powder into your routine at 9 p.m. or you could do a green juice that comes into your diet at 9 p.m. So about 1 to 2 hours after you finish eating, making up your little green powder drink or making your green juice. And what this does, it gives the digestion a break. It floods the cells. It's bathing the cells in this alkaline green goodness. Now, looking at the green, it's rich in chlorophyll, which is when we look at hemoglobin and we look at blood, there's only one structure different. I think the plant hema has magnesium, whereas human has iron. Sorry, I've got a cat head around from my cat. So yeah, really important to hydrate and to get that hydration happening on a cellular level. So the problem with tap water is that the molecules of hydration, so those water molecules are often really big and they're not shrunk down enough to really hydrate in. So we can be drinking lots of water, lots of different drinks, and it's not actually getting in on a cellular level. So this is where we see those reverse osmosis that have the electrolysis metal attachments on the end of the tap will actually help putting your water through various different mineral stone systems as well. And the zeolites help to alkalize and to shrink down that water molecule size so that we really become hydrated. Because a lot of us are not just on a skin level dehydrated, but an internal organ level. So we want things to operate smoothly. We want the water to be able to, you know, go to the brain as well. So here we have the doctrine of signatures. Now, this is looking into food that looks like different body parts. So I always give the teaching example of a kiwi fruit. And I say this one because it's the most memorable and it will stay with you. So a kiwi fruit is looks exactly like a human testicle. It's a hairy ball, essentially. And when we cut that in half, we have all the little seeds inside, which are lined up like little seminal vessels. Now, kiwi fruit are high in zinc, they're high in vitamin C, which is amazing for sperm production. So we know that that is like meets like. Also, little things like blueberries, we know that are really good for antioxidants to help with the eyes and to help us to see better. The same as when we look into a carrot and we slice that carrot, it's high in vitamin A, which is also, essential for eye function. We look at a walnut and we crack open the skull or the shell of the walnut, and we have the two hemispheres of the brain. High in omegas, really rich and essential for brain development and brain health. So this also is part of that holographic universe. So we see this holographic universe reflected in iridology and reflexology, in the acupuncture system, working with different organs, and also within the meridian system, we have all of these little acupuncture points, which are amazing. Our body is just marvelous the way that it works. So with acupuncture, we actually have what looks to be on little points throughout the body, which you can actually grab a little gadget that detects electricity. There's a little electrical signal that beams and shoots out of each of these points, and it can actually be measured. It's as if there's a little chip taken out of the bone, as if God or, that creator energy has taken a little chip out for that little energy light to switch on. So the more that we feed this light, the more that we feed our aura, the more that we feed our light body, these nutrient-dense, rainbow, color-rich foods, the more that we're gaining this electricity into the body. So we'll keep going with this. So this is all about becoming a superconductor. Now we can see from this pic, which was from a Whole Foods Nutrition pic, we've got a slice of meat that's appearing on one side of the screen, and then we have an apple. Now what we can see is the light is contained more within the actual inside of the apple. It's not being dispersed. It's not being sort of let go of and lost. And we can see that in the slice of meat. And this also goes for cooked versus uncooked in fruit, and organic versus inorganic. This was just one of the best picks that I could find. But we can see that there's a dispersing and almost an old electrical off charge or offset that's happening with the slice of meat. Whereas the apple looks rich, it looks alive, it looks like energy that we want to take on a cellular level. So it goes back to that saying that we said at the start of you are what you eat, or tell me what you eat and I'll tell you who you are. So I really wanted to cover the energy side of this. Now, for me, working as a kinesiologist and a psychic too, quite often spirit will, refer to flower essences when we want to shift something on an emotional level. Now, a flower essence, a flower is a spiritual gift. It's, has the nectar of the gods, if you will. And, bees come along and get this nectar. They make honey from the spiritual essence of the flower. So when we make a flower essence, we have the sun come in with those beautiful rays, those biophotons, and distill that essence, that vibrational frequency of the flower into the water. So when we consume this, there's different emotional interactions that take place within our emotional and spiritual and our other bodies as well, and create shifts and change. Usually taking them for about 2 weeks, you'll find that there's a change either in your thought patterns or in your emotional reaction. So we have superfoods. Now, superfoods are amazing. They're high on the ORAC scale, which is an antioxidant point of measurement. So you'll see quite often ORAC associated with acai, with goji, tea with other superfoods. So these are very anti-aging. They also usually have cancer-fighting properties too, and other inflammation reducing properties. So really important to consume not just, whole foods, but superfoods. We also have fruit. So that's part of the reason that I picked this pick, because an apple is not really that high up there. Blueberry is probably the most mainstream food that's high up there as far as when we're looking at electrical conductivity. So fruit, out of all of the foods, is one of the most electrically conduct or energy dense things. So if we're wanting to become a superconductor, we need to look at the electricity that we're consuming. So it's not just thinking about it from a nutritional point of view. We want to think about it as energy exchange. So becoming a superconductor from what we eat. So yeah, we also have, especially here in Australia, which is where most of my research lies, which is in bush medicine and bush tucker. So I've done a lot of research because that was actually some of the ingredients in my probiotic. So some of the foods that grow in really arid places, so say perhaps in the deserts, especially here within Australia, mean that these foods need to be much more packed, much more nutrient dense. So a little handful of munchies, which are almost like a little dried sultana looking thing, a little berry, a little handful of this might sustain you nutritionally for a full day. And even looking into like a little desert lime, which is about the size of a pea, contains 300 times the vitamin C of an orange. So we really don't need to consume as much in order to get that nutrient dense food. Now, this is really important when we look into weight loss as well, and we look into stabilizing weight. I won't even go into the importance of fasting in order to maintain weight and things. That's something for another talk. But when we really start to feed our bodies nutrient dense food, the cravings fall away. We no longer will have that hankering for the sugar. Sugar is really important to eliminate because it's like cocaine. It actually lights up the same pathways in the brain like cocaine. We want to eliminate foods that cause acidosis and block our arteries and block, the arteries and pathways to the brain especially, and the arteries to our heart too. So this is where it's really important to look at foods that are acid forming, such as meat and dairy being two of the main culprits for this side of things. I myself am a vegan. I believe that everyone has the right to do what feels right for them. And, the thing for me that pushed me over the end of the line, having studied natural medicine, was I got into it for health reasons. But when I saw what was happening in animal agriculture, the ways that animals were being treated, and also, what was being injected and what was being put into their food source, and also what we're spiritually taking on as an energy from what happens to them on the kill floor and things like that. So that's touching on that a little bit. Also herbs. Herbs are so nutrient dense, so purifying, so cleansing. They really are our medicine. So whether we look into Chinese herbalism, whether we look into Western herbalism, whether we even look in herbs that are available within our own backyard or our own supermarket, things such as cilantro or coriander, parsley, these things can be juiced or can be put into smoothies for heavy metal detoxification, as well as many other properties. So let's keep going. So we've got the bush tucker superfood side of things. So we talked about having high electrical conductivity. We do have a lot of bush fruits here that are very astringent as well. And each one has its place. So the way for working with bush foods and the way that I work with superfoods and things like this, and the way that I feel more the original cultures of the planet and the ancient wise ones worked was from an intuitional point of view. So plants have an energy. Everything in nature has an energy, whether it's crystals, whether it's energy, and our energy, when we develop these psychic faculties, can interact with these energy, gain wisdom and understanding. So I don't feel that it was, someone just picked a red berry, ate it and died, and then we knew not to eat these red berries. That might have happened in some of the cases, but from my memories and experience back in Lemurian times, it was more plant communication and animal communication. We worked holographically. We had a symbiosis as a collective consciousness, not just with humanity and with the beings that were around in that time, but with nature. We were kind of more like the movie Avatar, where we're at one with nature and where we saw her and communicated with her in this way and with this respect. And, from what the ETs show me, this is where we're heading back to. So really being blind to things that we're seeing on the news at the moment and putting that proverbial blindfold on and going into your heart, which is what the cards spoke about. So we talked about being super concentrated. We talked about the high auric value and nutrient dense. And it's from these arid conditions too. So Omar also asked me to talk about ancient Egyptian medicine a little bit. Now, because of so much that we have to get into today, I've just listed just a couple of things. So the ancient Egyptians understood the power of white powder gold, which when we take this in, it helps to switch on this DNA, this ascension process. Now, you can buy ormus and you can buy white powder gold and take this today. It is an acceleration, putting your foot to the metal in terms of working with expanding your consciousness and working with helping the DNA activate into the full potential. This will also enhance your dreams, but be prepared if you haven't been doing the diet and you haven't been doing the meditation and things for it to kind of slap you upside the head or pull the rug out from underneath you. So the ancient Egyptians also used things such as aloe vera and honey. Now, honey is something that never expires, it never goes off. It was used not only in diet, and we also have Manuka honey here in Australia, which is massively healing and highly antibacterial and helps regenerate and work with scar healing. This is also used in hospitals here. The Egyptians were also known to use rose and cinnamon and other amazing perfumes like amber and things. So not only did they consume some of these things, but they used them as perfumes, they used them as oils. And they use them as medicine too. So we also have blue lotus, which I have pictured down below. Now, blue lotus is fascinating because it's a lot harder to sort of come by. But back in ancient Egyptian days, it was used as an aphrodisiac, perhaps pounded and put into wine. It was also used as a DMT, so dimethyltryptamine, to expand the consciousness, to awaken the pineal gland. So they also made their own probiotics. So when I was doing my probiotic research, it was the Egyptians, the Sudanese, and other, medieval cultures that would also make kefir and would make these different yogurt probiotics and make sauerkrauts and things that we see in Germany that are also in the Western world today too. So they also used aromatherapy, and not only that, part of their medicine was also tied up in beautiful magic rituals. And we also had amazing Michael before talking about a little bit to do with Kundalini awakening, which is something that I've had some of my talks pulled off YouTube for really going into the depths of Kundalini awakening and some of my experiences with these energies, and teaching a little bit about how to turn this on. But that's something for another talk. So we have the light body, the aura. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't find the beautiful illustrator that drew this amazing light body pics, this rainbow light body that we hear people talk about in, I think it's the raw material. We hear David Wilcott talk about, these ancients that would switch on their rainbow light body. So all of these things that we're talking about with the foods are designed, and when we consume them, they help to activate this light body. So also things that can help to activate this are brainwave entrainment. So I've been lucky enough to be hooked up to EEG brainwave software and to look at what my brain does when it goes into a psychic state. Now, what happens is your brain actually drops into a really deep state. So really important to be doing the theta meditations, the delta and the gamma brainwave meditations to train yourself to get into this deep state. Because what happens is we're more able to cognitively function on a psychic level, to be receptive to our environment, to be receptive to this super conscious field that's around, or this God consciousness or universal consciousness and collective consciousness, which is going to keep us safer. It's going to keep us working more harmoniously together as a species and together with nature and animals, and even as in our day-to-day relationships with our children and with our partners and with our friends. So what I see, all of the things that we're talking about today, is becoming superhuman. This is hacking the brain. This is turning on our chemistry. It's turning on our hormones. It's switching on our brain. It's like the movie Lucy, and like the movie The Matrix and Limitless. We're really trying to execute that our full human potential and the full spectrum of who we are, not just a physical being, not just a brain. We really are these beautiful, amazing light bodies and acupuncture and chakra systems. So we want to switch this on. So this is what leads me to talk about the pineal gland. We have within the center of the pineal gland, between those two testicle-looking things, the thalamus, that we can see there. We have this little pea-sized thing called the pineal gland. Now we can see there's a tuning fork that comes off this. So when we're talking about frequency and we're talking about getting into vibrational resonance, this is a receiver as well as an amplifier. This plugs into the brain and the brainstem and the vagus nerve, which is our biggest nerve in the human body. This plugs into our spinal cord, which is our biofeedback system. So I see our soul, our beautiful souls plug into this. This is the human body avatar. This is the way that Spirit has shown me in my teachings as well. So we want to activate these magnetite crystals that are within these pineal glands. You can Google this and find articles referencing this. We have these beautiful crystals that pick up this resonance when it comes through these tuning forks. Now, the pineal gland is also known as the third eye. Now, we want to detoxify fluoride calcification that's happened within the brain. So really important to not drink the tap water, to make sure we're not getting the artificial plastics and things from bottled water. It's lost the name of it, but you'll be able to see it on the bottle of the water. And also the other thing that has these artificial estrogen producing plastic bottle ingredients are receipts. So when you pay for something and you get a receipt, especially if you've got sanitizer on your hand, that is a gateway for these synthetic estrogens to get into your body, which is not good for our system. So we want to attune this tuning fork through meditation. This is our soul avatar's connection into the physical body via computer. So this also helps with holographic vision when we stimulate and activate this. We also have a beautiful nectar when this is awakened that drips down. So a lot of breatharians will feed upon and be satiated from this divine pineal nectar, also known as vibhuti. So we also have this that is connected just underneath the brain. We have our sphenoid bone, which is our psychic and spiritual senses. This is the physical hardware. So these are a free-floating bone that's contained within the sinus cavity. So what happens when we're feeding ourselves these beautiful alkaline foods and we're ridding the body of things that clog up the system, such as meat and dairy, we're able to really have much cleaner sinuses, which are these are chambers. So if we look at the geometry of what a butterfly represents, it's going from the caterpillar having this spiritual technology to turn into being a spiritual being. So the more that we can flood light, we're activating this butterfly energy within us, becoming spiritualized or becoming more light. So the other way that this is described is two pyramids sitting tip to tip. I won't go into the eye function today, but plugged in right in front of this, we have the optical bones that hold the eyes, which are also pyramids. I think it's 7 bones that form a pyramidal shape. So our brain is actually what's receiving the information. The eyes are almost like a projector. So that is a little bit of this. So when we go into the sort of, the more intuitive side of the psychic and spiritual senses, which all plug into the sinuses, which is sort of that transmitter receiver that's connected to the pineal gland. We have claircognizance, which is clear knowing and receiving. This is being able to receive information and messages just like animals do from the collective consciousness or from the earth. They tend to know when earthquakes and things are coming before the humans, or when something is happening in this collective it's also referred to as like the morphogenic field. So this can also help with seeing outside of our dimensional reality. It gives us that expanded state of a multidimensional reality. Then we have clairsentience, which is clear feeling and clear sensing. We have clairambience, which is clear smelling. We have clairgustance, which is clear tasting. We have clairvoyance, which is clear seeing. We also have clairaudience, which is clear hearing. So all of these together, you have one that will be your favorite and one that will be a dominant sense. So for me, it's definitely clairvoyance, has been since I was a child. But I also have been lucky enough to experience all of these, and I do in my day-to-day readings. So I have readings available for my website too, for anyone that's interested. A lot of people do book a 2-hour reading because they want to get into the science of how they can make these changes and make these things happen for them, as well as looking at what's around them. So this is something we can really tailor to the person, and look at their energy system as well as doing tarot for confirmation around this and talking to your guides. So you will get a blending of the senses. When you start to really become an expert in one or more of these senses, you get like a synesthesia or a blending of the senses, and you get all of the messages come through like a movie, multiple sensory input all at once through your spiritual avatar. So this is building a psychic brain. So it's all about reprogramming the subconscious. So doing things like binaural beats and meditations and hypnosis. We want to eliminate and take out any old programs. So delete the old programs. We want to do this. We also have upgrade your comfort zone. So a lot of us become complacent and we become tired and we don't really want to create change. So one way to do this is to give yourself like a little push. So Tim Ferriss, an amazing biohacker, talks about laying on the floor in Starbucks and making himself uncomfortable for 60 seconds. Now, not everyone's going to do that, but what it does, it tells his brain that he's not going to die just from being uncomfortable. So our humanness doesn't really want to push ourselves. We really have to mentally train ourselves to have that mind over matter, and to train that will in order to keep leveling up. So we need to learn to get uncomfortable and to make these changes. So diet is one of those areas that people sometimes can find a little bit difficult to make the change. I know Omar is doing an amazing job switching over to a vegetarian diet, and I'm excited to receive some recipes from him too. So yeah, using the imagination, because the imagination and psychic abilities are one of the same muscles. So the more that we use the imagination and we use that image creation, this develops the muscle so that we can receive feedback in that same sense. So we have breath work. So doing cyclical breath work will help to facilitate and open up theta brainwaves. So through breathing and focusing on deep breathing and cyclical patterns, we're able to step more into these deeper brainwaves and become more receptive. Also working with one quick example, because I know that we're running quick on time, for when I was working with breath work in order to enhance psychic abilities, I went to, it was like a psychic kind of like testing night, training night, which was just a bit of fun. And what they did, they had a little roulette wheel and we had to bet on red or black. And they said, we won't tell anyone, what scores we're getting. We'll just play it for fun and everyone take down for your own personal use the note. Now, after people started to get, I think it was 3 out of 20, they went round the room and then they were getting 5 out of 20. Some were getting like 7 out of 20. And I'm sitting there going, I don't know if I want to share, what I'm getting. It got to, I was the last person standing at the end of the room and I'd actually gotten 18 out of 20. Now, this was purely just from putting myself into a receptive state and putting my mind and breath to work for me. I was actually very tired that night, which actually worked for me because I was able to get into a more relaxed mind state. So the more that we try harder to focus and concentrate, the more that we put like a little psychic cramp in that network. So we want to relax into it. We want to go easy. We want to say the first thing that comes to the mind. Another example for that was my friend took me to a casino to see if this would work. Now, you are hit and bombarded with a lot of other disruptive frequencies that are designed to throw psychics off, is what other psychics have told me. So after a minute of being in the casino, the first looking at the table and I'm like, why is spirit showing me green? Because I didn't know how to play, nor do I know how to play now because it's not really my thing. But I saw the ball land on green and I'm like, green? Because, I only thought there was red or black, but it landed on green. And what they told me after was if I'd betted on the green, I think you would have made 100-fold. It was like the highest possible outcome. Now, I've listed exercise here as well, because exercise is important for hormone production. It's important for getting the endorphins, getting everything in our system working. Because if we don't use it, we lose it. It's the old saying. So here are my details for anyone that wishes to contact or for more information. So I've got my website up the top. It can also be found under solretapsychicreadings.com. There's 2 web addresses. I found this one just a little bit shorter. It was easier. There's a Facebook and Instagram, a TikTok, which is just new because I've just been invited to go and do an interview over there. So I thought I'd jump on and make some fun videos eventually. There's my YouTube channel as well, and I'm on various other shows. I also do live psychic readings on Thursday nights on Facebook Spiritual Events Directory and on Beyond Mystics YouTube channel as well. But yeah, also worked with Stephen and Evan Strong and Omar as well, which has been so lovely. So I'm just going to stop casting. Hopefully everyone's got those details if they were after them, and I'm back. Oh, thank you. Thank you, everyone. So I couldn't see your comments while I was in. All I could see was my screen. Oh, I can't
Hi
hear
there.
you. Oh, hey, how are you?
Hello, Solreta. Hey, gosh, I'm sorry. I had some problem getting back in here, so I'm about three quarters of a mile behind, you know. But you must be a little of a time traveler, because I think it's right about 2 in the afternoon or 3 in the afternoon tomorrow down there in Australia, isn't it?
Yeah, we're from the future. We're, like Star Trek.
Yeah.
With travel at warp speed.
There you go. There you go. Hey, I've been to your website and I found something that I was really rang with me. You wrote there that let your food be your medicine and medicine be your food.
Yeah.
That must be one of the oldest sayings when it comes to health anywhere. That runs right up there, I guess, with do no harm. But this is so hard. When we go to the grocery store to try to get some of our food, in quotes, we get pretend food and we get toxins and we get things that is sprayed on and GMO. And how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so in the past, when my children were younger, I used to run an organic fruit and veggie co-op. So it's one way to not only pick the vegetables yourself, from the markets, but you can get together with friends and form a little community. Now that enables you to purchase that wholesale. So there is some groups that will do that at a discount if you're not able to go and help with the packing and things. We just had a small group of 50 people, and we would do a bit of a rotation sometimes on packing. So that's one way to get it. We're really just trying to eliminate the toxins and pesticides so that we can function at our full capacity, because a lot of this modern day bombardment that we get hit with is really trying to shut us down, whether it be on a psychic level, a physical health level. It's designing us to keep us sick.
When you have to go to the grocery store sometimes, how do you deal with that? Do you wash it, vinegar, or how do you do that? That's kind of what we do.
Yeah, so some people do buy the vinegar wash. I try to buy organic where I can. I think since my children have gotten older, we do a lot of detox supplements and other nutritional supplements too. So it's really just trying not to be too hard on yourself. And, because what if they turned it now? They call it orthorexia, where it's an obsession with having to have everything in the purest state possible, which is really the way that we're designed to eat. But in this modern day society, it's very hard. So making sure that you're gentle with yourself first and that you're just doing the best that you can. And it's really just about adding things. It's not really having to at first take things away. The more that you add, the better you feel. The better you feel, the more encouraging it is.
Yeah. Another thing that is very important, and that's the water. And what do you think about, there are these alkaline water machines out there, and then of course there's baking soda and things like that too. The alkaline water machines, they change the bonding angle of the H and the O about 3 degrees or so it's easier to get into the cells. And what kind of water do you drink?
Yeah, so I used to have one of those expensive machines. I had the Jupiter Alpheon, which was, I think, about $2,000, a really expensive one. And then I actually, I guess, with things that are happening, I thought, it's not so smart to have a water filter that's hooked up to electricity. So I actually went and purchased a sort of like a Berkey water filter, but it's a different one that we have here in Australia. And it has the 7th layer of the gravity fed. It has zeolites in it. But yeah, I'm very much a believer of Dr. Emoto's work on the molecules of emotion. So I've got a few of his little, someone gifted me some of the little water molecule water crystals stickers. So we've got them stuck on there. Yeah. So, working with it as a frequency as well as the molecule size of it. Yeah.
About a couple of decades ago, probably, I ran across some medical research coming out of a Stuttgart research hospital. where they had a long time research going on people that ate oatmeal. They said that whoever ate a bowl of oatmeal every day of their life, they lived on the average of 11 years longer than the ones that didn't.
Yeah.
And that was uncooked oatmeal.
Yeah.
What do you think? Of course, it's so important not to cook the food because it kills the enzyme. And how important do you think that is?
Yeah, well, being a severe celiac, I'm actually allergic to even the gluten-free oats. But what it is in the oatmeal and in the oats is beta-glucan. So with the beta-glucan, it helps to reduce cholesterol. So then you're going to have more blood flow going through those arteries. So usually, live longer, have lower cholesterol, less heart disease and things too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what about fasting? Do you do any fasting?
Yeah. So I do fasting on a daily basis. So I do, I guess where you would call it like the window fasting. So there's an amazing documentary for anyone that wants to get deep into that, because I know it's such a huge topic. It's called The Fasting Doco, and I think it's Dr. Jason Wong that's in that. But what they found was fasting also, it expands your longevity. And it lengthens the telomeres, which are the little shoelace caps on the end of our telomere, or the end of our DNA. So with fasting, I usually eat around anywhere from 12 o'clock till 2. If I'm looking at like weight management or regulation, going from 2 and finishing eating for 8, for me, is that perfect window where I just don't put weight on and I can still eat exactly the same amount, but I'm giving my digestive system a break. So this is really important, because you don't want your body to be constantly digesting when it can go into cellular repair and to put the energy into brain power and other things. So it's finding that window for you. Now, it won't necessarily work for everyone. I know my partner, Evan Strong, who was on before, I know that, for him, it doesn't really suit his chemistry or his body. So you really have to kind of be in tune with yourself, or some people might even want to seek professional help when it comes to fasting. There is packets that you can buy that are recommended in that fasting doco, where you order and you do fasting just for 5 days in 1 month. And that's enough to expand that longevity.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm down to what they call intermittent fasting. I got pretty much one meal a day with a snack about noon. And then the meal is usually somewhere between 5, 6, or 7 in the evening. And then I don't eat again until noon the next day.
That's pretty much what I'm up to as well. Yeah. So it's called intermittent fasting. And just the amount of energy that I've found since doing that is contrary to what I would have thought. I would have felt tighter, lethargic. But yeah, just cognitively too, it's just increased my mental capacity is what I've noticed.
Well, the body is kind of a self-correcting machine if we give it what it needs.
That's so true.
We never do that. Hardly ever do that. In fact, somewhere on my computer, I have a copy of a Senate document here in the United States. I think it dates to 1933, possibly, where it says that pretty much all farm soil is depleted of minerals.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially magnesium, selenium. This is where we, unfortunately, even with organic soil, we need to supplement, because what they've done is too many monocrops, too much corn growing year after year. We need to replant and do a permaculture garden to refresh the nutrients.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned the telomeres.
Yeah.
That opened the door for me to say this.
Oh.
Are you familiar? Are you familiar with the 3 doctors that got the Nobel Prize in 2009 for discovering that enzyme that reverses the aging process?
I remember that happened right before the GFC hit. I remember they had massive funding, and the funding, I think they actually age reversed a mouse, which is the equivalent of 10 human years. So it's essentially turning myself, I'm 40, so essentially turning myself back to a 30-year-old, but in a mouse. And unfortunately, all of that got shut down when the GFC hit. I forget the names of the doctors. We have an amazing doctor that works from Harvard in the States called Dr. David Sinclair, who does incredible research. There's Dr. Aubrey Dubray. And there's another one, I think his name's Dan Mitchell. There's a product called Truth 181, and that is actually a beauty product that works on telomere extension, and he's come up with an enzyme that has better cellular communication and keeps you more youthful for a lot longer too. It's very expensive though.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell you though, this is not just a novelty, it actually happens. And there are people, I found some, in my research, I found some really old people, hugely old people. And one of the things that they take a lot of is astragalus, the herb.
Yeah.
Yeah, that has a great effect on that and several other things. And actually on Monday, I'm going to be talking more about this.
Oh,
but
exciting.
yeah, because this is really possible. And if we give the body what it needs, it will replenish itself. So why don't we do more of that? Is it just our laziness, or is it just that we don't know most of the time, do you think?
I think we're also distracted. I think there's so much that happens in this modern day world that's designed to keep us occupied and distracted, and then we forget what it was. So this is where we really have to get that that governance, that soul come into this avatar so that we can take back control, because we're being hijacked on a spiritual level, whether it's archon energies, whether it's parasitic thought forms, or what we're being programmed from the media. So we really need to take back our spiritual control and control of our minds and our bodies.
Yeah. Oh gosh, during those 3 days we're going to learn a lot about that.
It's really, really an amazing lineup of speakers.
Oh yes, God, I am blown away for some of the knowledge that is coming out here. Now in this forum though, you are listed as food science, but I've been to your website and there's a whole lot more to you.
Yeah, I'm also, I've got lots of UFO videos and photos and things like that up there. I mainly work as a clairvoyant psychic, but have a background in natural medicine and a little bit with food sciences as well.
Yeah, and also you're a psychic and do soul readings.
Yeah.
What soul readings? Speak on that a little bit. I'm intrigued by it.
Yeah. So I guess if you don't mind me using you as an example, just the colors that are around you that I can see, is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, beautiful. So even just watching you talk now, you have within about the emotional field of your body, it's very green, which is very heart-centered, so that you can see the information. You also have a green curtain, but the energy, it's a green mixed with sort of like a gold tone. So it's sort of speaking that divine guidance that you get from source, but it comes through the language of the heart. So that's a little bit of just looking around someone, but you also see ETs and different things around people. So I like to draw. I've got, let me just grab this little thing. So I've got, so I draw exactly like what I see around people. So sometimes like ET symbols, so you can see the various different auras. I speak light language, which is an ET language. So you can see I have a lot of ETs and things. So in a session, it really depends on what someone wants to go into. You also have this beautiful little blue being that's smaller in stature around your right side. So we look at like the color placement, we look at where the beings are, we tap in with the cards, and we actually listen to what the beings are saying and to why they're showing up in our energy field. So I see the aura as a photo for what's happening in the particular moment.
Do you see the auras all the time, or is it just when you concentrate on it?
No, so when I was a child, I couldn't turn it off. And I actually, believe it or not, went and slept in my parents' room nearly every night till about 17, because there was just spirit everywhere every night. And it was when I started to go to kinesiology at about 15, he really started to, tell me that what I was seeing was not my imagination, that it was true, and that it was, energy. So now that I'm older, and especially when I was pregnant with my first daughter, I was able to learn to turn it off and able to kind of shut that down, because I had to, in terms of protection mode, just with her. Yeah, so I can turn it on and off at will.
I didn't used to do this, but I do some now. Are you also one of those people that when you go to the grocery store, you bring your pendulum with you to check on the food?
No, I sort of use myself as a pendulum. So sometimes
Or,
I do Chinese pulse testing as well. But also you can sort of use your energy, you waver back and forth like a pendulum, which sometimes when you're testing up nutritional supplements, or I'll do kinesiology testing, like self-testing with finger muscle. But yeah, sometimes pulse testing, because it's a bit more inconspicuous. You can kind of just, test with your pulse and you see what your pulse is doing, whether it's a homeostasis or whether it's fluctuating too much or too low, dragging your energy down. Yeah.
Okay.
But my
now on your web,
pendulum.
yeah. On your website, you talk about star language, star languages. What kind of language is that?
Yeah, so I speak multiple different ET languages, or actually my Japanese friends call it space talk. So for me, I really, I guess, feel more ET than I do human. I've never really sort of been able to feel that, even though I love this planet and I love nature and I love people, it feels very foreign to me a lot of the time, because I remember living in places where, we had all the psychic function working, and that was normal in those places, and we really operated from a space of respect and a space from the heart. So for me, when I speak light language, it's really just communicating with that that other part, or the that higher part of myself. So it's also described in the Keys of Enoch as these people that speak a language that initiates or activates people. So I find sometimes, some people will be moved emotionally and moved and activated in certain ways, and then some will go on and speak light language themselves. It's like it wakes up that part of them.
Yeah. I just got the message that we should wrap it up, but one quick one first. Try to do ET communication. You mentioned. Are there someone that you are in contact with on a regular basis?
Yeah, so I've got a list. I think it's up to about 60 different races that I've had contact with or communication with. So I will see ETs around my clients. So I had, for example, one beautiful client. She was sitting at my dining table and we're doing a reading. And in the background behind her, there was this, I call him a bubblehead ET. So sort of like a grey, but with a big head, very kind, loving demeanor, but had this sweater on that was like something out of Happy Days. So it was like this red sweater. And I'm like looking, and she's come in for a relationship reading. So I'm thinking, I can't really say, hey, what about that ET there? Anyway, Spirit just kept on, and he was so persistent just standing there that I drew him into the aura drawing, and her jaw just hit the floor. She's like, and I'm like, okay. And then she said, she goes, what you've drawn, that appeared in my kitchen a couple of nights ago, because I thought I was going mad. He had that red cardigan on, that red sweater and everything. So I always say exactly what I see, exactly what I hear, exactly what I feel. You learn not to second guess yourself, because you want to bring it through as a pure stream of communication and pure consciousness. We don't want to corrupt. We don't want to put the humanness into it. We want to just keep that in that pure gift that it is.
Wow. Well, that makes an interesting life, doesn't it?
I guess
we're having fun, aren't we?
And thank you so much for your beautiful questions and time today. I look forward to hearing your talk too.
Yeah, and here's Omar.
Oh, hi. Thanks, Omar.
Hey, what's up? That was a fantastic presentation, Solreta. That was amazing. I'm like Paul, he's saying he's taking screenshots to, use that material to help himself. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people out there that are going to be doing the same thing, coming back and watching this again and again and again to try to get some of this advice that you just gave us in order for us to really raise our vibration. The thing that I really resonated with, Solreta, was it really didn't occur to me, but it kind of did. But I suppose I didn't, I guess I didn't pay attention to it, but I did when you said the energy of the animal on the slaughter floor, right? The energy that's created, and then we're consuming that negative energy, that very dense energy, that's causing us to either become sick or to, vibrate at a very low distortion, being sad all the time and, feeling like you're hard done by, right? The world is out to get you. So I really resonated with that, because I thought about that. And then, as you know, I'm trying to change my diet, simply for the fact that, I just don't no longer resonate with meat, especially the commercial farming, the way it's happening, and the abuse that's happening. I just can no longer, consciously support that. And for me, every time I go to the store, buy some chicken or buy some beef, to me now, what it indicates is that I'm supporting that market, I'm supporting that murder, I'm supporting that abuse, and I can no longer continue to do that. So that's why I'm kind of just stepping away from meat. And then when you were saying about intermittent fasting, I resonate with that as well, because, I'm actually really bad for that, because I will eat at about 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and then I won't eat anything all day long. And again, I will eat at about 8, 9 o'clock, no snacks through the day. I drink, a little bit of juice, a little bit of water. Well, sometimes not even water, because the water here is terrible. It's got fluoride in it and, kind of what have you. So I just kind of stay away from that. And, that was, I don't eat.
You're transitioning to a breatharian diet.
Yeah, exactly. And, and when you were saying that, it kind of occurred to me, because I was raised a Muslim, and then I gave that up when I was about 11 or 12 years old. I came across Eric von Daniken, and I read his stuff, and it really changed the perception in my mind. And I stepped away from that religion. But I do remember that once a year during Ramadan, Muslims, they fast from sunrise to sunset for 30 days. What are the benefits for that, if you do that once a year for 30 days? Yeah,
well, I guess because I don't really have a religious background, I have more of a spiritual background, or just from my firsthand side of things. When we're, putting food into our system over and over again, especially if we're not fasting, we're not giving the body that break. It's just like layering brick after brick after brick, and we don't get that breathe out space. We don't get that that room for inspiration to come in. So a lot of people will have different spiritual type experiences when they're fasting as well. And especially those of my friends that do the spiritual fasting too. It's a really important time for them.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think about sun gazers that never eat? What do you think about that?
I think that's really fascinating to me. I love food too much. I do have friends that do sun gazing, and you are directly getting that biophoton energy for the sun. So we, through eating plants, especially alkaline greens, we absorb the biophotons from the greens. So I guess they're taking out that middleman, or the middle plant with that. But I find it fascinating. Stories
I like
of
middle
but this lifetime I like food a little bit too much.
Excuse me. That was a fantastic, I gotta say, that was exhilarating, and it kind of really, wrapped up the entire day into what we were talking about. We're talking about ancient cultures, consciousness, and then food to me is, it's very spiritual, and it's consciousness in itself. And what we consume is what we are, right? So for me, this was, just a beautiful wrap up to the entire day with your presentation, because, it concluded the day today into what we were talking about. And, Solreta, I really appreciate your time. And, I love you, man, and you're an awesome person, and I look forward to engaging with you more and learning from you more, and developing our friendship too over for the foreseeable future.
Thank you so much.
If you don't mind, so you got 2 radio shows here. You got Omar and you got us in the future.
Oh, I would absolutely love that. I loved your questions too, and you did such a wonderful job. You both have.
Great.
And thank you for everyone watching. Feel free to, if there's anything you want to ask more, feel free to ask. I'm on Instagram, Facebook for ease of contact.
Fantastic, guys. I've put all of Solreta's links in the comments, her website address, YouTube address, Instagram. And I couldn't find the TikTok. I never really got into that, so I couldn't find it. So I tried to post that, and I was like, where is it?
It's a new one. I haven't put anything up yet.
Oh, okay, that's why I couldn't find it.
And for those that is listening out there on their telephone and they don't have access to the chat room, you can find her on Solreta psychicreadings.com also. Isn't that right?
Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
Yeah.
And also,
There you
just go to YouTube and put in Solreta Antaria, and her channel will come up. And please subscribe to it, and hit that that bell so that you get notifications every time Solreta puts out a video or when she goes live. Because this is the knowledge that we've all been striving for, that we're all thirsty for, and and I would suggest to follow Solreta. She's really going to guide us. Out of this, low density that we're involved in. Speaking of meat, earlier you were mentioning about it backing up into your system, and the thing that came to mind was John Wayne. And when John Wayne passed away, and they did an autopsy on him, they pulled out like 30 or 40 pounds of like rotting meat out of his intestines. So I could imagine the damage that that had done to his avatar, and that's something I don't want for myself. And so it's just the wheels are turning, Solreta, and it's all thanks to you.
Well, thank you, everyone. Well, enjoy the rest of your night. Hopefully, you all get a good sleep, ready for tomorrow as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Solreta. And guys, we are going to close the session up now, and we will be back in about 3 minutes, and we will have a MC panel discuss things that happened today and what is to come for tomorrow. So with that being said, thank you very much, Solreta, and thank you, Agi. Fantastic job on the interview, and again, just a fantastic presentation. So we will see you guys here in about 2 minutes, and if you don't get pulled into the next session, just go up into the schedule and look up MC panel day close. And that will bring you guys into the next session. So with that being said, we'll see you guys in about 2 minutes. And thank you very much, Solreta.
Thank you, Amma. Thank you, Augie.